Let's go ahead and jump to our good friends from the Locked On Football Cardinals, because we also have the St. Louis Cardinals covered here on this network as well. We're bringing our good friends Bo Brack and Alex Clancy of Locked On Cardinals. Guys, how are you holding up today?
What's up?
Great, man.
Hey, you guys aren't going to throw down here on Locked On NFL Sunday, right? You guys have Throwdown Thursdays on Locked On Cardinals, which is one of the most entertaining segments that we have here across the network. It's a debate platform. You guys do a phenomenal job here. But, gentlemen, obviously, welcome in. Happy Sunday. You know, some of the news when you take a look at it this past week. The Arizona Cardinals, they signed James Conner, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, outside of the basic question of, you know, how is he going to fit in? You know, first off, how do you think Cliff Kingsbury can utilize James Conner, given his injury history, maybe some of the concerns there? Is this a low risk, I mean, or maybe even a high risk, high reward type of possibility for them?
I don't think there's any risk whatsoever with the amount they paid him. Bringing in Rodney Hudson's going to help a lot. I think utilizing James Conner like they did Kenyon Drake last year, just do that. I mean, Kenyon Drake got $14 million guaranteed, however much money he got. So it's a severe markdown by signing James Conner. He's good between the tackles. He's good out of the backfield catching the ball. This is a home run. And however they utilize him, I don't think there's really any sort of risk. And it worked out really nicely for the Cardinals.
I'm not going to call this thing a home run. I mean, it's a good move. It is. I do like the price tag. Absolutely. Who's not going to like that? But at the same token, it's like James Conner, there's red flags, and staying healthy is the biggest one of them. So, you know, how's Cliff Kingsbury going to utilize him? You know, this is a guy that's used to running in the backfield and the shotgun and having a lot of receivers on the field. So he'll be used to that being in Cliff Kingsbury's air raid offense. So that should work out pretty well for him. You know, if he stays healthy, his numbers are pretty comparable to a guy like Kenyon Drake. I think they're a notch better. And where James Conner can kind of excel or take the Cardinals offense to the next level is he's just consistent. Both halves of his stats are the same. And the Arizona Cardinals were a little sluggish out of the gates last year. A lot of people wanted them to establish the run earlier. They couldn't do that with Kenyon Drake. He was good at the end of games, but I think James Conner can kind of get them off to a better start. And for guys like Kyler Murray and having DeAndre Hopkins, now AJ Green in this offense, it can become lethal with a lead. And a guy like James Conner can help you sit on those leads. And then also, if things don't work out, you can fall back on a guy that Cliff Kingsbury loves and Chase Edmonds.
So that was going to be my question, guys, joined by Bo Brack and Alex Clancy at Bo Brack on Twitter, at Clancy's Corner on Twitter. You could also follow Locked On AZ Cards on Twitter as well. My question was going to be, you know, with James Conner being added to the fold here, is this a little bit more of the running back by committee? Do we see Chase Edmonds still? How do we feel like the snaps begin to divide here?
Yeah, let's put to rest that Chase Edmonds is RB1. Sorry, Matthew Berry and everybody else. It ain't going to happen. Chase Edmonds is fantastic in the role that he's had. And I truly think snap-wise, it's probably going to be 50-50, 55-45 Conner. James Conner, in my opinion, I don't know if Bo 100% agrees with me, but James Conner is RB1, RB1A. Like Chase Edmonds, that's not what he's equipped for. You want to use Chase Edmonds in a Chris Thompson role if possible. Like Chris Thompson will get 7 or 8 carries a game in his heyday and just be the scat back to catch the ball to the backfield. Because once you get Chase Edmonds in space, he's a blur. Chase Edmonds is fantastic in space. And he obviously has big play potential. You just don't want to trust him to run between the tackles. You just don't want to give him 15 touches a game.
I'm going to put your little quote up here at the bottom of the screen because I love it so much.
Thank you.
That's going to be headline worthy there. You know, one thing I do want to ask too, because we talk a lot about Cliff Kingsbury, you know, when I listen to you guys talk, there's some things that he's got to do better, obviously this upcoming season, but you know, with Kyler Murray at quarterback, you know, the Cardinals have their franchise guy. How does this maybe take a little bit of that pressure off of Kyler Murray's shoulders a little bit? Because one thing we see is he's the guy that can run the ball on the outside. He's the guy that's going to throw it. I mean, he's the guy that can take over a game, but you know, sometimes you don't want him to necessarily be that guy that's you have to rely on him every single time you need to find a way to take over. How can James Conner help out Kyler Murray?
I think what you're looking for is he's fragile, right? He's non-traditional as far as his size. A guy that's under 6 feet, he's barely over 200 pounds, and he's pretty elusive. But at the same time, if he gets squared up, you know, it's a nightmare scenario for the Arizona Cardinals. So you don't want to put him, you know, in harm's way too often. So yeah, to bring in a back that can run between the tackles potentially, like James Conner, take on the brunt of goal line carries, short yardage situations. I mean, that's huge. And as Alex mentioned, I mean, that's just not Chase Edmonds. That's not his strength. He's a guy that you want to get out in space. And certainly James Conner can do that, but he's a slower pace back. He's a guy that you can rely upon, to look, kind of have that Big 10, 3 yards in a cloud of dust run game. And you'll take that, and it helps a guy like Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray, that's just his extra gear, though. I mean, you don't want to, take that out of this game plan because he had close to 1,000 yards. He had 11 rushing touchdowns to go along with Kenyon Drake. I mean, they had 21 total touchdowns between the two of them. Can James Conner match that production? That's going to be tough for a guy like James Conner, who in the last 2 seasons, he's played 23 games combined. So it's going to be big for him to stay healthy. But he's going to – I'm with Alex on this. I know it's going to shock you guys, but I'm with Alex on this where I think he's RB1 and he's going to be the guy that they're going to, give the rock at the beginning and at the end of the game.
It's funny. I'm used to telling people it's okay to disagree sometimes, but I feel like I have to tell you guys it's okay to agree sometimes, right? Like this is fine. So look, the addition to James Conner, obviously, we've talked about the benefits of that move. We've got just a little bit more time here with you, so I'd love to go with just another quick round of questions and just talk a little bit about the team in general. What's next for the Arizona Cardinals, especially with the NFL draft here right around the corner?
Cornerback. Cornerback. That's it. Yeah. I mean, that like we've been, I mean, Bo and I have gone back and forth. We've done myriad mock drafts at this point. We did the one coming up that's going to be awesome on Locked On Podcast Network. Cornerback. I'm now in the camp, and I know it's ridiculous, but I would be 100% good now that they signed James Conner to go corner in the first 2 rounds. I mean, because here's the thing. That's the most glaring need. Obviously, they think the wide receiver room's good, at least at some point. And if the Cardinals want to trade down and accumulate picks, it might change this answer. But if they stick at 16, draft a corner, and Asante Samuel's there in the second round or somebody like that, and they take another corner, I think it's 100% warranted. I mean, that means that if one of them hits, you don't have to worry about Patrick Peterson leaving anymore. Malcolm Butler can go in a mentor CB2 role. And if both of them hit, you have one of the best secondaries in football, like immediately. So that's why I corner.
I can see that. I mean, even Caleb Farley, I think Caleb Farley's going to drop in this year's draft. I mean, he was, before the recent back surgery, he was projected to go within the top 10. I think he's going to be there at 16. So what if you guys were able to get Caleb Farley at 16 and then in the second round, bam, Asante Samuel Jr. That's a great haul right there. I mean, you got to grade that as an A draft already for the Cardinals franchise.
I mean, they're great prospects. Absolutely. No doubt about it. The thing about the cornerback position, especially recently, is it hasn't been an exact science selecting those guys. I mean, look at the top corner off the board last year. Jeffrey Okudah struggled mightily for the Detroit Lions, but that might be because the Lions are just a dumpster fire of an organization, but he struggled and you can't figure it out. Like even the Arizona Cardinals, they took Byron Murphy with the first pick in the second round during the Kyler Murray draft. And he's been a guy that's still trying to find his legs at the NFL level. So I think you give yourself an opportunity to hit if you take 2 of them. Caleb Farley, the back surgery, that's also they're figuring out how to repair knees. The back is still, there's a lot of question marks around that, no matter how, what a specimen that Caleb Farley is, the size, the athleticism. I think it's a good pick for them. And then, I don't disagree. I mean, because it is such a glaring need. You can't play in the NFC West and you have one warm-bodied cornerback on your roster in Malcolm Butler. I mean, they've just got to start to put guys at that position on the roster, and I don't know what they're waiting for. So the draft would be a great starting point.
Yeah. And it's a nice class, particularly up at the top. So hopefully your Arizona Cardinals are able to take advantage of it. Guys, really appreciate it. Cannot wait. We do get the first episode of the Ultimate Mock Draft 2021 coming up on Monday. You guys are a couple of episodes in, but I'm a big fan of your selection, and I'm excited for the folks to hear all about it.
Thanks, Ross.
Absolutely. You guys. Absolutely. You guys take care. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a blast. Y'all can follow Bo and Alex on Twitter at Bo Brack, at Clancy's Corner, at Locked On AZ Cards. You guys take care, and we'll see you Monday through Friday over at Locked On Cardinals.